Hello, my name is António Coelho. I am Associate Professor at Faculdade de Engenharia da Universidade do Porto, and also I coordinate the computer graphics and virtual reality area at INESTEC. In this work, we're going to present some gamifying approaches to the museological experience. This work was developed at the Graphics Interaction and Gaming Group at the University of Porto. This presentation will be done by me, my colleague Pedro Cardoso from the Fine Arts faculty, and 4 researchers at the doctoral program in digital media: Maria Van Zeller, Liliana Santos, José Raimundo, and Roberto Vaz. In this presentation, we'll explore 4 different examples. So the first one will be gamification in a boat museum. The second one is a location-based games in natural parks. The third example is the use of location-based games in museums, in this case, a botanical garden. And finally, we'll talk about accessibility for the visually impaired visitors. In the first example, we integrated augmented reality and also the concept of sticker album collection as a framework for gamification in informal learning in museums. So this was conducted in a boat museum. And the motivation from this work was the engagement that people have towards the sticker album collections. From our childhood, we always have these collections, and the way it promotes completion and engage people to complete the collection. So we would like to engage the learner to collect the stickers and progress in the exploration of the museum. And we also focused on an augmented reality layer that could enhance the experience of exploring the cultural heritage, in this case the boats, by providing additional information. So one of the major issues in museums is that normally heritage cannot be modified. So we should not use marks in AR, but instead use markerless AR, which of course is a little bit more difficult, but still approachable. Unless, of course, in an art gallery, where most of the exhibitions are 2D, two-dimensional, the paintings. In other exhibitions, these artifacts are normally 3-dimensional, which also poses some problems to the augmented reality calibration and markers. So we would like, with this approach, to use heritage as an anchor to support informal learning. So, as a gamification approach, we use the player's journey. So in the first phase, the onboarding, we want to engage the player into playing the game. And then, in the second phase, scaffolding, we provide the player an intuitive progression until we reach the end of the game, where we provide the player with mastery. So in the onboarding phase, the visitor would install the app, select the language, and then a video would introduce the story and the goals of that experience. Then, after his registration or her registration, in the login, he could choose a theme layout and the avatar. This would enable a more historic theme for adult visitors and a children theme for infants. And in this phase, at the end of this phase, we give the visitor the first sticker. This will engage the visitor to complete the second and the third and so on, motivating the user to progress. So here is the album where a first sticker is provided, and then we should only unlock the second sticker to complete this first boat. In the second phase, scaffolding, we provide short and iterative cycles. This motivates progression at small iterations. So in each room, we select one of the boats, and then, following this diagram, we provide some empty slots for the stickers, and then the first challenge would be the identification of a part of the boat with augmented reality. Some help would be provided if people would not succeed at the first approach. And unlocking the first sticker would give us information about the boat. At the second challenge, we'd have a quiz, and then the second sticker would be unlocked. By unlocking the second sticker, we would have more information, but now in multimedia support. And finally, a 3D animation of the building of the boat. And at the end of each completed boat, we have a 3D model of that boat. So in the end of the game, we would like to recognize and reward the effort of the visitor. So a captain certificate would be awarded, and the app could be taken home, not only with the stickers, but also with the 3D models of the boats. So we could show people even with using augmented reality at home.
The second example is location-based games in parks, the case of Gaia's biological park. Gaia's biological park is a nature park in the north of Portugal that we have chosen as our locus of research because, since it simulates and preserves the typical landscape of the region, it has a good potential for the development of serious location-based games. We want to promote and disseminate the natural heritage while enriching the visitor's experience. To do that, we developed a prototype of a mobile app to be used in that park. The prototype has a map with points of interest, the user's location in real time, geotagged information, and serious games about the contexts the visitors are experiencing. These images show the general aspect of this prototype, with the points of interest on the map. And on the right, one example of those points, where you can see a photo and some information. And now, I'll present a video where you can see what I've talked about in more detail. With the app, one could search for all the animal species found throughout the park. To complete a collection, once you unlock new species, you can learn more about them. Also, you can unlock thematic mini-games as you walk around, that you can play as many times as you want to strive for higher scores. Unlocked content can also be checked out later in the comfort of your home.
The third case study occurred in the University of Porto's Botanical Garden, which was the home of the celebrated Portuguese writer Sophia Henderson, and had a relevant influence in her work. In our perspective, a visit to this garden is incomplete without acknowledging the complementing facets that characterize this site: literature, botany, and history. This prototype is a location-based game experience that articulates botany with Sophia's famous story The Bronze Boy. Beaconing stands for breaking educational barriers with contextualized, pervasive, and gameful learning. It is an ubiquitous technological platform involving user experience design, mobile communication, location, and context-aware systems, gamified pedagogy, and analytics. Educators use integrated authoring tool to develop autonomous gamified learning activities using both learning resources and the context of participating institutions. Lessons focus on STEAM, cover formal and informal subjects, and target real problem solving through mobile applications. After deployment, analytics are used for assessment.
The methodology used started with a brainstorm session with a group of 6 people, master and PhD students and professors. We made exploratory visits with the garden team. Those were very welcome and necessary to build a proper experience. Like it is possible to see in the flowchart, the project has a narrative with points of interest, which have a minigame. The minigames included different mechanics like quizzes, shooters, drag and drop, and activities like capture images. For be successful, it is necessary to be a good observer, which minigame have a price. That is a sticker of the point. In the final, it will appear in the inventory screen. During the day of testing, we resorted to participant observers for collecting information from participants while they were playing. The observers acted as facilitators for solving technical issues and identifying unexpected problems in situ. Through these methods and by analyzing player surveys, we concluded that players were engaged with the experience. That was well accepted amongst families and groups of children and teenagers. Learning through a location-based game proved to be a fun and enrichment. However, certain interactions design issues arose from our consideration in future work. In conclusion, navigation in the botanical garden as a museological space requires visitors to be attentive to their surroundings. It is in those surroundings that is the motive for their visit. Operating a mobile application in these contexts needs to be an experience that does not alienate the visitor from the local itself, but one that promotes a stronger bond between them. The focus of the visitor attention must be on the physical world and not on their smartphones, be it for navigation, information checking activities, or for moments of contemplation. In based learning games, a positive feedback is required on different activities, creating a learning environment motivated by success. So, even failure must contain pertinent information that leads to learning. The success message should reinforce what has been learned. Activities should be directed to in situ observation and shouldn't involve prior knowledge. This allows to broaden the age range of the application, making it possible for different groups.
The fourth example is about the accessibility for the visually impaired visitors. Despite the growing concern about increasing accessibility for people with visual impairments, only 5.5% visit museums in Europe. These patrons represent an important potential market for museums, and implementation of inclusive technologies can help promoting access to exhibitions and museum places. Haptic interfaces allows the exploration of virtual replicas of museum objects through diverse ways of interaction. Those take advantage of the dynamic nature of the kinesthetic sense and allows users to acquire perceptual information of the virtual pieces, like texture, shape, weight, and material properties. It is possible to observe diverse ways of interaction on the three examples presented here, like using an arm exoskeleton, a pen, or a joystick to feel the objects. In the case of touch replicas digitally augmented, is it possible to explore three-dimensional replicas of museum objects? The replicas can be scaled or restored to their original appearance, and tactile exploration is enriched with additional audio information. Tuteco is a project in which people listen to contextual audio information when touching hot points of the replica. In the case of the Egyptian cat sarcophagus, the interaction is very similar, but half of the object was reconstructed as it was at the date of its origin, and the other half remains as it is nowadays. Gesture-based interactive tactile reliefs are useful to provide access to reliefs of artworks like paintings, photos, and images. In this case, users' hands' movements are tracked by computer vision, and it allows better recognition of the visitor's exploration strategies, like if they are using one or multiple fingers, one hand, or both. The first example shows a visitor interacting with the relief of the painting The Kiss, and the second example is a conceptual system for tactile exploration of other reliefs. Technologies are also being used to help visually impaired visitors in indoor navigation and wayfinding in museums. Systems can present step-by-step navigational audio instructions, and people can interact with them by voice comments, touch events, and texts. The example of the Blind Nav app shows two print screens, where people can choose where they want to go on the exhibition and also how to access bedrooms or other services, or live in the museum. The image of the second example shows a blind visitor using a device for navigational instructions on a self-guided tour, which recognizes the user's position according to sensors attached to him and the exhibition walls.
Conclusions and future work. New media and technology must complement and not replace the mission of these institutions. The visitor's experience should be the main drive for technological breakthroughs in museums. Technologies must not distract visitors but enhance their experience with the museum collection. These technologies must promote inclusive museum. Activities should have a straightforward language aligned with the game mechanics. Creative activities should allow the use of diverse tools and the possibility of social sharing. Games must consider different player profiles and their typical emotional involvement. Found objects should inspire curiosity, enthrall, enlighten, and stimulate learning. Information and navigation must operate with accessibility tools of the mobile devices. I thank you for your attention.